Hi everybody, this is Jessica Dunn and Kyla Dean with JC Realty, and today we thought we'd go over a topic that we don't really hear about often, but we want to make sure there's some buyer and seller awareness around this topic, and it's about rented furnaces. And Kyla, you've been through this quite a few times this past year where you're a buyer, you're representing a buyer, and they're buying a house that actually has a furnace that's rented, and what should they be looking for when they approach that scenario?
Yeah, it's a really interesting, I guess, issue that's going on. It's going on all over Canada, and we're seeing it more and more in the city. So it's a bit of a buyer beware, but also sellers beware situation. When you're approaching that situation, when you as a listing agent are taking on that listing, you're filling out a listing contract and you're going to ask, okay, is your water heater owned or rented? You check that off,
common.
right? And now we're getting to, is your furnace owned and rented? In that scenario, you as the seller need to be aware that you, although may have rented this brand new high efficient furnace and air conditioning unit, you aren't necessarily able to ask the same price that someone down the street that has those same items in their house they may have. You won't be able to ask that same asking price,
Right.
Or it might come down to negotiations, which more often than not in this buyer's market, the buyer's going to push hard when they're approaching a house with a rented furnace, and they don't really want to take on another monthly cost.
Exactly. So what happens if like in instance where you had a buyer and they don't want to rent it? Like what happens now, right?
So I've had a few scenarios, always representing the buyer, and in the end, the seller kind of got burnt. They either had to pay out the contract completely, leave the furnace and air conditioning there for the buyers, but they're going to pay a premium. They're going to pay payout penalty, and in the end, like I think it's probably they're paying about $12,000 upwards of they could be for a furnace and air conditioning unit.
That would have been like $5,000 if they would have just bought it from
right.
the get-go.
So I mean, everyone's financial situation is different at the time, but we just want people to be aware that if you are being approached by any of these companies and you're thinking about selling in the near future, you want to weigh out these pros and cons because you will end up paying at the end of the day.
Yes.
I've seen scenarios where the seller left it behind, held onto the rental contract, didn't want to pay out the payout penalty. The buyers are enjoying a free air conditioner, and the sellers moved on, but they're still paying a monthly payment.
Oh my gosh.
It's so sad and scary.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it more and more. And seeing these pop up on our listings, and I look and the furnace is rented, and you're just kind of like, oh, how is this going to go?
And you want to deal with it ahead of time. It could definitely be an added stress to the whole buying and selling situation for sure. So with somebody who's going to, their furnace is on the fritz, they need one, and they have this option to rent or to buy it outright. If they're in a position to buy it, you probably would recommend that because they're probably going to be way cheaper in the long run. And if you had to sell, you wouldn't have to deal with all of the pain that goes with it.
I would personally just recommend if you could take out a line of credit,
it's even better.
I think you'd be better off paying interest on that line of credit than being locked into a contract.
Yes.
And even read that fine print.
That's right. And even in Sask Energy right now has a rebate to help you alleviate those costs. I think it's like a $650 rebate if you upgrade to a high efficient furnace. Right. So there's a little bit of a help too if you need it. But yeah, I would rather just go get a loan if you had to. As opposed to being locked in.
And again, everyone's scenario is different.
Yes.
But I think the main thing to bring to people's attention that if you are thinking about selling in the near future, if this isn't your forever home, if you're, even in the next 5 years, you're thinking you're going to be leaving this property, I don't think it's a sound investment personally.
Right.
But that's just what I've run into in my experience.
So beware.
Yes.
When you're buying, check if it's rented.
And seller beware.
Yes. And know what your payout penalty is if you are going to go about renting.